Hi, Melissa. I'm just trying to find my links here. Hold on. Oops. Hi, everyone. All right, I'm going to put these links on there, and that way if anybody jumps on, they can find these things. Oh, no, Venus, what's going on? Hopefully you're okay. Okay, so I put the two links on there. So I'm going to talk and cut paper at the same time. The first link I have on there are the Spellbinders Mermaid Markers, which I've shown you guys before. I colored this in, but I had to take that video down because there was information about a GoFundMe we were doing, which didn't end up going through, so I had to take the video down. But these mermaid markers, the Jane Davenport mermaid markers, which are exactly the same as the Altenew markers, are on sale for $15 at Spellbinders. So that's the first link I have there. And the question that I kept getting on the group, the Foiling Snobs Club group, is, are these the same as Copic markers? So these are on sale right now for $15. I put the Spellbinders link in there. And I will just keep trying to copy and paste or whatever I need to do for you guys. And I'll put it in the description when we're done. But these are on sale for $15. They're exactly the same as the Altenew markers. I also have the Altenew markers, which are exactly the same. They're just different colors. And I want to do a comparison of these watercolor markers versus Zig watercolor markers versus the Copic brush markers. Okay, so I think that the way I named this is similar but different so that you guys can understand why you would choose one over the other. And it really is going to depend on how you're going to use them and your budget. So they are similar in some circumstances. Oh, thanks, T. But they're also different. And yes, I also have the Arteza brush markers as well. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is cut some paper. I'm going to use this Colorado Craft Company Big and Bold Hibiscus Hummingbird stamp. Okay, because I really want to stamp out this floral image here. And I'm going to heat emboss it, and we're going to use each of the markers and see how they do. And I'm going to use the same watercolor paper on each one. Okay. And there's a lot of things I could turn this series into, similar but different. If you guys are interested, let me know. I can think of a couple things right off the top of my head. Foil, embossing powders, alcohol markers, ink pads, stamps. All right, so I'm just grabbing a piece of this and we'll chop it up. Had a very productive day with Mom today. It was a run around, do errands all day, got new battery in her car, which I installed. That was a lot of fun. And got her new cell phone. So she's all set now for a little bit. How big is this thing? It is quite large, isn't it? If I do, what if I do a slim line? Will it fit if I do like a 3.5-inch slim line? Ooh. I'm gonna try, let's try that. Let's be different. Oh no, T's not feeling good. Ugh. Is it like allergies, T? Alright, well, we got 3.5-inch watercolor strips. I'm going to flip these to the back side. There's a textured side and a smooth side because I'm going to be stamping, so I want the smooth side. And I think I should bring in my stamping platform because it's watercolor paper. Hi, Sherry. Oh, Pepto-Bismol. Ugh, I get it. I know what you mean. I had that day the other day. Okay, so... Ooh, that might not fit the whole way. Will it fit the whole way? Close enough. Brand new to me stamp. I'm gonna shove that up there. Kind of put this in the middle-ish. If I need to cut it down, I'll cut it down. I know. I mean, if you want to go buy some fancy media mat and spend, what was it? Like almost $40. Hey, listen, we got silicone media sticks and media mats that you can buy and get a lot more for way cheaper, people. Do your shopping, do your research. Just because some fancy person is endorsing it doesn't mean it's worth your money. You guys know I'm cheap. All right, we're gonna switch to the big one because my stamp is too big. My paper's too long. We gotta go to the big old boy. Come on, knock on my door. I'll be waiting for you. Okay, here we go. We need to flip this to the clear side, which means I don't think I'm gonna need the foam mat. Let's take that out. Don't worry. Once I have this figured out, we'll be good, people. Just takes me a few moments. Okay, I think that looks good. We are fit into this stupid magnet got in the way. Let's try that again. All right, I think we're good there. Let me do anti-static tool. Hello, everybody. Hello. Thanks for hanging out. I'm supposed to be doing a work project. So I am here procrastinating once again. Shh, don't tell my boss. Where's my sticky ink pad? I'm going to use my Wow. just because it's stickier than my Versamark. Wow, wow, wow. But you can use either. Don't tell Stacy I said that. I need to put a magnetic thingamabobber on this. I got one here. I need to stick that on there. Okay. Working on an April Fool's surprise. I don't want to know. I did trick my kids yesterday. I was very mean. I have a little sty on the inner corner of my eye. I thought it was a pimple. So, of course, you know, I couldn't leave well enough alone. So, I messed with it. And then it got aggravated. And it got all red and puffy and swollen. And I've left it alone. And it started to go down. But it still bothers me. So I thought, all right, I'm just going to basically jab at this thing, pick it until it pops, okay? Well, it started bleeding, of course. And so, being the cruel mother that I am, went downstairs to Leah. Leah had her little friend spend the night last night. So I'm like, you gotta go get Grandma and tell her she has to drive me to the hospital. And I had a cotton swab over my eye and there was blood all over it. So Leah thought my eyeball was cut open. Terrible, terrible mother. And then I laugh at myself because I think of all the dumb things my dad did to us when we were kids. So yes. I'm carrying on the tradition of doing dumb things to scare my children. Because that's what Dad did to us. So it's only fair that I pass that on to my children. I'm fine. Did not cut my eye out. I feel like I'm not getting a stamped image here. What am I missing? She's fine. She tortured me more than I tortured her. All right, I don't think I'm getting my full image here. I'm gonna stand up and press. Which is why I really only use this on rubber stamps. Okay, now I can see something happening. And I got clear embossing powder. This really doesn't need to be that difficult, but of course I'm making it difficult. Okay. Yeah, I normally use, the other two platforms. I use this one for rubber stamping mostly, but, ooh, that's going to be pretty. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us last night for Tracy's little birthday hangout. It was nice not to, you know, have anything that we had to do, like, you know, design team stuff or Stamp War stuff. It was nice just to have fun. Okay, so I have the clear on here. Let's heat set this one. I did it correctly. It is a big jar. The girls sent it to me, I think for my birthday or something. It was one of their gifts to me. Big old jar. Wow. Clear gloss, super fine embossing powder. I think it's in my Amazon shop. So worth it though. Okay. I got to do that 2 more times. You know what? Come on, Nance. You got this stinking sticky mat thing. Use it. You paid the money. You might as well use it. So let's peel. Here we go. That might help a little bit, ladies and gents. All right, now where did I have this lined up? And it was a little bit down. I think right there. Close enough. I'm not moving it. So my dad used to, he'd take like, I think I told you guys this not too long ago. He'd take like a little jewelry box, like the little paper jewelry boxes when we buy my mom something for jewelry. Or like, you know, Mother's Day or Valentine's or whatever, he'd get her jewelry. And he'd cut a hole in the bottom of the jewelry box. And then he'd stick his finger on inside the hole and he'd put the little padding in there and the ketchup. He'd put ketchup around his finger. And he'd go, come here, come look at what I got your mom, what you're going to give her for Mother's Day or Valentine's or whatever it was, right? So we'd come over. Yep. And he'd open the box and it would look like a dead severed finger in there. And we would run screaming, my sister and I, and then he'd wiggle the finger. So of course we'd jump and be like, oh my gosh, you know, so, you know, that's the stuff I remember. All right. Yes, the dead finger. Thanks, Dad, for tormenting us. Ah, lots of good memories with that old guy. Ooh, I forgot to do anti-static tool on that one. Hopefully we'll be okay. Let's do this one. Such a beautiful day here today. I wanted to go wash and detail all the cars, but it's supposed to rain, so I don't want to go and wash and detail all the cars if it's supposed to rain. So it just sucks because I'm looking at my filthy cars covered in road salt. Be done with the stamping portion. Come on. You know, the sticky mat is definitely sticky. Clean that later. Let's bring these other 2 in and do heat embossing. have a little, there we go, a little spoon, a little spoon spatula thing. Okay, that one looks pretty good. Okay, and we have one more, and this is the one I did not use the anti-static tool on, so this will be interesting to see how this one looks. Missed stamped on that one. Didn't press it down enough. Okay, those look pretty good. Let me clean up this nightmare mess. Tracy, how is your birthday celebration going with the family? Yes, I'm washing clothes too. Okay, let's heat. He's having a perfect birthday. Good. I'm glad to hear that. Okay, now that I have those stamped out. Now, I'm not really doing anything super special here that can't be done with watercolors, watercolor paints, brushes. You know, I'm just going to demonstrate kind of the differences between these markers. Got to make sure your embossing powder is nice and glossy when you melt it. See that? You want it to be smooth and glossy. If it still looks bumpy or matte, that means you didn't melt it enough. Okay, so these guys are all prepped to go. So the same stamp 3 times. All right, so what is the major difference between these markers? And again, they're 15 bucks at Spellbinders right now. Those are the Jane Davenport ones, and I did kind of swatch those out and show those to you. These are exactly the same as the Altenew ones. The difference is price and colors. You have a different range of colors and different prices, but you can see they are the same marker. Now, these are a watercolor brush marker. So what I mean by that is you can see the liquid ink in there. It's just in the barrel. It's not in a felt nib or anything like that. And the tip of it is a brush. It is not a marker. So if you're somebody who's into coloring, watercoloring, you can see here how much of that ink comes out, how large that brush nib is. It is a little bit different than the Copic markers, and I'll show you that in a second. Okay, now these are designed that you can, if you want to add water, it will, it is water reactive. And I primarily use these for watercoloring. I don't use these for regular coloring, okay? Now, the Zig markers are much smaller. I don't have very many of the Zig markers because, honestly, you guys, they're expensive. But let me show you the Zig marker. So the Zig marker inside here is a felt barrel. And you have a much finer, smaller tip, okay? So even though, you know, these are considered brush markers as well, even though these are water reactive, you can see the surface area is so much smaller. And you can see that ink is not just kind of flowing out like it did up here. It's definitely drier. You do want to add your water to get this flowing. But you can see it's a much smaller nib size. So for fine detail areas, that's where you want these. They do sell these in sets and open stock if you just want individual colors, so that's the advantage to that. And these are the Zig Clean Color Real Brush, but I find that these are quite expensive. Okay, these are only in sets as far as I know. These don't come in open stock, the Altenew and the Mermaid Markers. Okay, so then to compare those to the Copic markers are the most expensive. These are very high quality artist grade markers. If you want the best of the best, you want the Mercedes of them, that's where these come in. They come very nicely packaged as well. And the markers do come as that open flowing ink in the chamber. And the nibs are larger than the Zig, but they're not a brush tip. It's more of a felt tip. So you can see as I press this down, this is more like a regular marker. So even though they call them brush markers, this is not a brush. It is a felt tip. And you can see you can use this as a marker. Quite a lot of ink comes out. It's not as much ink as the Altenew, but it's not a small nib like the Zig. And again, price point wise, these are the most expensive. You can see you get a lot of saturation and color there. It's not too dry. And again, all of these are water reactive, but I like these because you can use these like a regular marker. You don't have to use these like a watercolor marker. And I feel like these two, you really do need to add the watercolor. But with the Copic markers, you can do both. You can do one or the other. I don't think any of these have refills available. That's a great question, T. And the Copic markers you can buy in sets of like, I think you can buy them open box, and I think you can buy them like in sets of 6, 12, whatever. And I linked my Amazon link. If you want this package, it's around $130 or something like that. It's a really big set. I splurged and got these for myself for Christmas 2 years ago. And these are the like creme de la creme. Like they only come out for special occasions, okay? And then if you're looking more budget friendly, maybe you're just starting, you don't do a lot of coloring, then I do recommend the Artisas, okay? So the Artisas are kind of your less expensive dupe generic brand. So with the Artisas, you are going to get a brush nib. It is a true brush nib. It is a synthetic nylon fiber, so sometimes you'll have a stray one poking out that you'll need to pull out. You can see they're kind of dry like the Zigs, but again, it is water activated. And in terms of size, oh my God, all of a sudden it just started thunderstorming. In terms of size, you can see how much the size difference is between the Zig and the Artisa. So just depending on the project that I'm working on, will determine, let me just make sure that everything is closed upstairs. Because I don't think the children know it's raining. Okay, so Artisas are a very good starter set. If you're budget friendly, you don't do a lot of coloring. These are great because you get 48 and they come in a variety of different colors. Again, very water reactive. I don't know if they sell these in open stock now. I know that we're going to try to do that, but I think for the most part you buy them in sets, and they have different size sets too, so you can get smaller sets and larger sets. So those are the 4 different ones. But the 2 that I really wanted to focus on today are the Mermaid Markers, which you can get for $15 for the set. So we're going to start with that one. Let's start with this one here. I see, every time I look at this, I see something that didn't get. I want more of those clear markers. They work so well with the Catherine Pooler inks. So for clear markers, there's a couple things you can do. So Zig sells a clear marker. Tombow sells a clear marker. And Dove sells a clear marker, and Karine sells a clear marker. So all of these markers, you can use them, and Stampin' Up sells one. Stampin' Up. Where's my other one go? Is it in my... Right in front of me, always. Okay, so what T is talking about is you can use these blender markers. And again, Zig sells one. I don't have it, but Zig sells one. This is the Tombow one, which is a clear nib. This is the Karine one. And again, you can see the fluid in there, and it has the same nib as the Karine. And then here is the Stampin' Up ones. And the Stampin' Up ones, you actually get 3 in a pack, and they are double-sided. So you get 3 in a pack, and they're double-sided. So all of these markers are basically filled with this, what they call blending medium, which is basically a glycerin mixture. And you can dip these into any color or do any of your blending with them. You can also use watercolor brush markers. So these markers all have water in them. And you can use those as well. So you can use any of them to blend. Yeah, I think I sent you, did I send you the Stampin' Up one? I think I sent you a Stampin' Up one. No? This is Stampin' Up? Okay, yeah. The Tombow is double-sided. Oh, look at that. I learned something new. I had no idea. So tiny. See that? You guys help me learn things. All right, so let me start with these Mermaid Markers. I'm going to pull the Mermaid Markers out because I don't want you guys to get confused with the colors, because these are the ones that are on sale. And I originally paid, I want to say 40 or 50 bucks for them. Michaels carries them and occasionally has them on sale, but I have not. $15 is a very, very good value. So we're just going to use these. So how I like to use them, let me grab a paper towel or kitchen towel as our UK friends like to say. I love watching videos from other countries and listening to how they speak because it's cool. All right, so how I like to use them, and again, you can use this method in a lot of different things if you have brushes, if you have watercolor paints, but I like to grab my, I might have to turn this over a light on. Hopefully the glare is not too bad. Okay. I like to take a wet watercolor marker, or you can take a cup of water and a paintbrush, whatever you want to do. And then I like to wet the area that I'm going to paint. Now this is watercolor paper, so it is going to soak that up fairly quickly. So you might have to saturate this a few times for that water to stay on top and be damp. And you definitely want to use watercolor or mixed media paper. If you use regular hammer mill, it's going to pill. It can't hold on to that water too long, and that's not fun. And then I'm just going to take a color, and you can see how that starts to wick away, it starts to move, it's very pretty, it gives us that faux watercolor look. And then you go back in with your marker, your water pencil, your water pen, brush pen, and you can just pull that color out. So we have this nice deep color in the middle and a soft color on the outside. So it's very much faux watercoloring, it's cheating. I don't like to do coloring a lot. Every once in a while I get in the mood for it, but I don't have the patience to do it. So doing it like this makes it easy for someone like me. Now, the more you want in color, you squeeze this marker and more ink will come out. It's highly concentrated, so the darker you want it to be, the more you're going to squeeze that. The lighter you want it to be, the more water you're going to add. And I try to start where it's going to be the darkest and pull outwardly. So for me, in this instance, this flower is going to be darker in the middle, right? Yay, Diana said she used the link and her Spellbinders rewards and she got them for $10. That's a great idea. Now, if you want to splurge and you want to go all in, like Tracy's like, hey, it's my birthday, I'm going to get myself a full box of Corrine. You're not going to be disappointed. And you can interchange and mix and match any of these. So don't feel like because you have one brand of something, you're stuck to that one brand. That's why I try to always give you guys different options. I know that some of you say, hey, I can have whatever I want. I'm going to splurge and get the Corrine markers. And they're, you know, like I said, they're $130 some. And some of you are like, man, I don't really color that much. I don't feel like spending my money on that. So, you know, maybe I'll go with the $15 markers. Like I said, these were originally 50 bucks. Or maybe you say, hey, I'm going to go with the Artezas, which are like, I think they're like 25 or something like that for the Artezas. And those are in my Amazon shop too. And again, if you have brushes or color bursts or those kind of powdered pigments, you can do the same thing with those. Now, if you're having a problem with your blending, and I often have that problem, a lot of times it depends on how much water I've added or the type of paper, and it starts to dry. Another thing you can do is you can take these markers on your media mat and you can scribble like that, and you can pick that color up and go into your project by picking it up off the mat. That way you won't have as harsh brush lines on your image. It softens it a little bit, because you're not going directly from the marker if you pick it up with your wet brush. So I'll show you that. It'll soften, it's getting diluted with the water, and it softens that so you don't have those brush lines like you would if you would go directly with the marker. And you can see it's not as saturated, so I'll need to go back in and layer that. But that helps if you're having problem with your brush strokes are still showing when you're doing your coloring. It's because your paper is too dry. So you want to make sure that you have a lot of water down before you go in and add that. Now see, that's really nice and soft, but I want it to be a little darker in the center. So I can go in and layer it. And you can dry in between your layers too. You don't like something, go in and add more water and dilute it out a little bit. You want it to be darker, go in and add more marker. Okay, so that are the Jane Davenport. Let's do the center area. Here's a little stamen thingy here. And so if I think I have too much color, again, I can just dab some of that out in my paper towel. All right, now we have these smaller flowers on the outside here. So I like to do the wet method because for me, I think it hides my mistakes. If you want to do dry, like you just put the color down, you can do that. Your colors are definitely more vibrant. They're a little more, they're not as organic. They're very straight. The lines will be, the color will be very direct. It'll be very vibrant. It'll be much darker. So I like this method because if I make a mistake here, I can still, you know, kind of bring the water into it and pull it out and make it almost like, oh, I meant for it to look like that, right? Where if you go direct to it, because it's so saturated in color, it's harder to pull those colors out. And I know this is kind of hard to see because I did white embossing powder, but then you just take your brush and clean it off a little bit. So for instance, here's some green. I'm going to go right in direct, not wet, with this green. And you'll see how much vibrant that is and how stark that color is. Without adding any water to that and just dabbing off the excess. Now there you can see these are, again, very, very juicy, very inky. I mean, that ink just wants to flow right out of there. And that's going to be the main difference between these and your brush markers. Is that these are so dark, are so juicy with the nibs, the type of brushes these are, that ink just wants to flow out. So you need to be careful with that because I have one of them, the brown one. The brown one always leaks. Look at this one. Because that ink just wants to fly out of there. Look at that. Okay, so that's going to be your big difference. You're not going to have that in the Korean markers. All right, let me finish this one up and we'll move on to the other markers. I should have done a different color. Oh, see, look at that. We're leaking. We got us a leaker. It's like your kids when they're little and you're trying to change a diaper. We got a leak. Part of it is too the way you store them, and I probably don't do a good job at storing mine because they're leaking everywhere. I normally store them laying on their sides, and I should probably leave them in this little basket. Store them like that. So let's do that. All right, so that's the first one using the $15 Mermaid Markers. So those looks great, right? Looks good. Okay, so now I'm going to switch over to the Koreans. And I'll use the blending marker so you can see what the difference is. You can get the same, if you use the same technique, you're going to get the same results. So if we go, let's show you here. Yeah, definitely don't throw the empty markers away because you can see how that color wicks away right away. So the biggest difference here is the nib. That ink is definitely contained better in the nib, and it's more of a marker. So if I wanted to just color with this, let me blend this out quick. Still blends out beautifully. Again, the inks are all water reactive. So anything you use that's water reactive, you're going to get the same results. But if I wanted to go in and just use this as a marker and say, hey, I just want to color like this, it's a lot easier with these markers. I know a lot of brush calligraphy people like to use these markers because they have that, again, it's a nib. It's a felt nib. It's not a brush like the other ones. So you could go in and color this whole image like a regular marker. You don't have to do the watercolor effect. That's the biggest difference you're going to find, and the price point. So now if I go in, now this is setting and it's drying because I went on dry. It's going to be a little more difficult to pull that color. You're going to have some brush lines. So if you're quick, you'll be able to do that. I would only just do this a small section at a time, because if you don't get to it right away, it's harder. As it sets, it's harder to get that ink to move. So I'm going to work fairly quickly here to get all of that spread out. Go in a few times, work the marker, re-wet it, spread the color. And again, I am not a professional at coloring. There are a lot of professional artists out there that use these markers, that you guys can get a better understanding of them and how to use them. I'm just talking about general card making here. So you can start to see here where the line is. You see the brush marks in there. So that's the difference between using a dry method and a wet method. This is going to take a little more work for me to go in there, re-moisten that, spread that color around. So I like the wet method. If you go wet on wet, you have less work to do. It kind of does all the work for you. Not saying that this doesn't work. It still looks pretty. It's just there's a little bit more back and forth and going in and doing that. I'm not a person who likes to go back in and do it more than a couple times. So I like the wet method. You can see the wet method here. It's more organic. It's more flowy. Down here you can start to see, you know, a delineation there on where the marker was dry and where it was pulled out with the water. So it's just a little more work to get that spread out. That's all. Okay, still very pretty though. So same thing, if I want to go with my golden. Yeah, alcohol markers I think are the hardest ones to learn for that reason, because you don't have a lot of, you really have to layer, and because it dries so quickly, you have to get in there and layer it and blend it. It's just a little bit more work. So I agree with you. I like color pencils, or I like watercoloring, I think, is one of the easier ones. So like down here where I can see the leaves, I don't necessarily need to go in there and use the water to color that. I can color it like a regular marker. So now that this is starting to dry, you can see that color does not really want to move. It doesn't want to travel. So I got to go in, re-moisten it, add more color to get it to move. I think the thunderstorm is done already. I hear birds chirping. That was quick. Quick little shower. And then I have some greenery and things like that. So similar, but different. Yes, I'm using watercolor paper. Okay. And again, just to show you guys on the back side of this. So if you do, let me get one that's really juicy. This one. No, not working today, buddy. Oh, way too much water there. Nope, this one doesn't want to work. How about this one? Oh, that's better. So if I just put water down, I'm going to bring it down a little closer. Okay, if I just put water down, and I bring in one of the Mermaid Markers, and I just touch that, you can see how that water just mixes and it turns in essentially into a watercolor. It's very easy to do. I can go in and add more water. I can spread that out. It's lots of fun. Okay, now let's do the same thing. Yeah, I like watercolor pencils. Yes, they're easy too. So same thing. We're gonna, whoop, too much water on that one. Let's drag that down. Got way too much water. We're going to dab a little bit of that up. Okay. Okay, and then we grab a green marker. See that? See how that works right away? But I have that brush ability if I just wanted to color like a marker. I can do that. Little more control is what I would like to say with the Korean markers. Still looks good. And even though this is dry, I can go in and add water to it. Let's do this again. Let's do Zig marker. The same thing, but the biggest difference with the Zig marker is the finer tip. So if you wanted more detail areas, that's where you can go in. And like I said, you can mix and match this. So for instance, on these that I just did, I feel like I could add a little bit more. I could bring my Korean marker or my Zig markers in here because they're much finer point, and add some more detail to this coloring with that finer point. Oops, put the right lid on, Nance. And then I can either use a water brush, or I can use any of those blender pens. So how the blender pens work is they're, again, more control. So here's a Korean blender pen. They're just going to moisten that ink and move it for you. Not as much as water. It's more controlled. It's a thicker viscosity fluid that's in there. It's almost like a glycerin. It's like a clear ink. So you have more control, but you can still have that blendable ability with these markers. And then when you want to clean the marker, you just go over to a fresh piece of paper and clean it. Even though it's stained, the marker still runs clear. This is great too to use on your ink pads. If you're coloring something and you often see me do it with Catherine Pooler inks. You want your colored images to match your ink pads or match your papers. I like to grab these kind of markers and do the blending. Dab right into my ink pad and do that. So the whole point of this was somebody asked, are these the same? They're not the same. They're similar, but they are slightly different. But they both look really pretty. Well, yeah, Dabadoo, that's why I wanted to show these, because at $15, you can get those other markers. I know Korean markers, hey, you guys know, I'm very frugal. So it took a lot for me to invest in the Korean markers. I did buy them for myself as, like I said, a Christmas gift like 2 years ago. The Zigs I bought a little at a time because these are like $2.25 a marker or something like that. I started with like the 12 color set, and then all I did was I add a couple grays and a couple flesh tones, and that's it. So this is, I don't have a lot of these just because of the price point. $2 something a marker for me is quite expensive in my mind. You know, I can spend my money on some other things. So I have the basic colors, and I had some flesh tones and some grays I added. But $15 for these mermaid markers where you can get some beautiful watercoloring. I thought that was a good value. That's why I wanted to share that information with you guys. But I wanted to show you the difference between the Zig, the mermaid markers, and the Korean brush markers, because they are very similar, but they are definitely different on price point and definitely different in the way the nibs are. But in terms of the effects, you can get similar effects. Good night, Marzena. Yeah, and you can do the same thing with watercolor pencils. So yesterday when I did the chipmunk card, I used the Arteza watercolor pencils, which are very inexpensive. Good night, Stephanie. Same thing. Now for pencils, I like to color first with my pencil. So I lay my color down, darkest in the center. And the water immediately turns that into pigment, and then it will move wherever you pull it. Because this is dry, it's not going to travel on its own. If you wanted it to travel on its own, you'd want to wet the paper first, which you can do, and then put the color down. Trying to see where the embossing powder is under this lighting. Now, obviously, I wasn't heavy-handed enough, so my color's not super dark. So I can go back in, color some more. Another thing you can do is go direct from the pencil. I can pull right off the tip there and then color. So you can do that too. You can see the color's a little darker doing it that way. But watercolor pencils are another fun medium if you don't want the messiness of ink, but you still want to do some kind of faux watercoloring. So you can see there, you would never know that that was a pencil instead of a marker. A lot of fun there. And then another thing you can use, as I mentioned earlier, are the brushos. So I have brushos, color bursts. So these are all in one bucket because they are, again, similar but different. So we have brushos. You know what I don't have? I don't have any color bursts. Primary elements. I have these Cosmic Shimmer Pixie Powders. TCW Color Sparks, which I think are the same as Color Burst because it's the same manufacturer. I have the Nuvo Shimmer Powders. And I think that's all the ones that I have, but you can do the same kind of thing. So, for example, I'll just do one color here. The difference between these is you have different manufacturers, but they all work in the same way. They're watercolor pigments. The Primary Elements, the Pixie Powder, and the Nuvo ones all have shimmer added to them. So you have to be careful because since these have mica to them, you probably want to add some kind of fixative when you're done. The mica does travel. And the Brusho, the Color Burst, the Color Sparks, these don't have any mica in them. There's just pure pigment. And you can put these in pots, or you can make your own. You can buy these little pots at the art store. You can buy little cups, and you can pre-mix them into a watercolor. So just to show you, if I just do a little sprinkling here, and it literally, whoop, that's more than enough. You just need the tiniest amount, and you're going to add a little bit of water. I don't want to add too much water. My light is really glaring. And then the same thing, you can just go in and pick up that color. Look how dark that is without a lot of water. And then the more water you add, the more that will dilute that color. And now you've made your own watercolors that you can do the same method with. You can go wet on wet. You can go dry, but they're highly pigmented. And I like using these. These are a lot of fun to use on their own without such a structured image to color. But you can use them to color. I know why I moved my light, because I can't see anything. Next time I'll need to do this in black embossing powder or dark color embossing powder, because it's hard for me to see where the lines are. And I'm not squeezing any water out of my brush. I'm just using the brush tip. I haven't squeezed any water out. Just using it like a regular paintbrush. I think these are Morning Glories. I don't know. I just started coloring them in whatever colors I wanted. Aren't Morning Glories a weed? Aren't they like an invasive flower that like take over and suffocate your garden? See that? Look at all my floral friends that know everything. You guys are so awesome. If I don't know about something, I just ask you guys. Jim said Morning Glory self-seed. And where'd my paper towel go? do the center. Right, Sheila? They're just not fun. I know. I had them at my old house, and I was like, oh, these are like the worst things ever. And I would like pull them out. I'd spray them, and they would just keep coming back. Awful. I put the wrong lid on the wrong thing. No? No? Okay. So there's a couple different ways. You guys probably already have some of these things in your stash, so I don't ever want you to feel like, hey, there's something new, there's something great out there. What's Nancy using this week? Do I need to go buy it? No, you don't have to go buy it. That you have something similar. Use what's in your stash. We always try to tell you guys that. You probably have similar things, but again, in this case, primarily I wanted to show you the difference with the markers is that these have a much wider brush point, which are great for watercoloring. But the Korean markers, if you can spring for them, they are more expensive, but they have a little bit of everything. They're just a little bit better quality. But for $15 on those markers, I just thought, well, that's a good value. I want to tell everybody about that. So, there you go. They choke off every other plant, yeah. I believe these are the Korean, right? I think these were this was the first one I did, right? Which was, or maybe I'm backwards. This is, I don't know. I know these are the Brushos. I feel like these were Mermaid Markers because this purple was the purple that leaked everywhere. It's this purple. So I think these are Korean and this is Mermaid Markers. Oh, I have it backwards. Okay. I don't know. I know I got a lot of leaky markers over here. I just realized I need to clean up. So I did, the Zig ones I just used in the finer point area. So the Zig will work the same way, but the Zig are much smaller. So the Zig will work the same way. So when at the very beginning I showed the difference in the nib sizes. The Zig markers are very, very tiny. You guys see that? So it's a very small nib. And the Jane Davenport Mermaid Markers. We have the link directly for you guys for the Jane Davenport Mermaid Markers. We've been linking them for you guys. They're only $15 and they're normally around $40, $50. So I don't know that any of these nibs are replaceable except for the Korean ones. That's an excellent question, and I'll show you why. This is a synthetic brush nib, and again, the quality of this is not the greatest. It's, you know, it's on the cheaper end. You can see the brush nib pull apart, but it's a nylon brush nib, so I don't think that you can replace the nib on that. The same thing with the clean color Zig ones, but I do believe on the Korean ones you can. The Korean ones are a felt that you can pull out, just like with your Copic markers. So with Copic markers, you have a nib like this, and I believe you can buy replacement nibs for the Koreans. And I don't know that any of these have a refill. But I know some of them are sold as open stock. And again, the biggest difference here is if you look at this nib, It is a marker nib. It is not a brush. You know, even though they call it a brush marker, it writes like a brush. Again, if you're a calligrapher, you can go thick, you can go thin. But the bristles themselves, it does not come apart. It is a felt nib. Okay? Correct. You can fill them with whatever you want, but I don't think they sell re-inkers. So we have linked the Spellbinders link if you're interested in the Mermaid markers. They're $15. If you're interested in the Corinne markers, they are a little bit more expensive. I have those in my Amazon shop for you guys. Here's the Corinne link for the set that I have. And I do say, you know, if you're going to, when these markers run out of color, especially these, the Mermaid markers, fill them with shimmer. So like what I've just showed you guys, you can make this into a marker. You can refill this. You can make your own colors into a marker. You can add a little bit of mica. You can add some shimmer in there, and you can make your own glitter markers. So perfect example is if you look at the Spectrum Noir markers. So here's a Spectrum Noir marker. The Spectrum Noir markers untwist, and these are a brush tip too, and you can refill this with shimmer, you can refill it with ink, you can refill it with what. So I never throw these markers away because I'm constantly refilling them. You can buy the pot of shimmer and refill it with a pipette. And you can use this same thing as a water brush marker. You can use it as shimmer pen. You can add color to it and make it your own blend of markers. And you can see I have just a little bit of shimmer in there. So that's what's fun about these markers is you can, if you pry, I'm sure you can pull these things off and use some tweezers or something and change the colors out if you want to. These twist off, so you definitely can refill these. That's the leaky one. I don't want to open that over my artwork, or I'll have to do splatter art later. Yep. Any other questions you guys have? So Mermaid markers are 15 bucks right now. They're normally 40 or 50 bucks. They're at Spellbinders. I'm linking the link for you guys. If you could please use my link. It does not cost you guys anything extra. Just let Spellbinders know that I sent you their way, and they pay me a very small commission. So yeah. Thank you, T, for helping out. And Tracy, happy birthday. So the colors are very vibrant when they dry. I mean, anytime you use a water-based ink, it's not a pigment, so it's going to be translucent. It's going to dry back a little bit. Yeah, if you get anything else, Shelly, from Spellbinders, as long as you start on my link, I will get commission for the sale. Yes, thank you so much. And then all that money goes back into me buying more supplies and trying them out for you guys. It goes into our giveaways. It goes into postage. It goes into ordering more stickers. It goes into paying for Zoom every month. So, you know, all the things that we do as Foiling Snobs Club for you guys, for my team. Postage for Stamp Wars, that's a huge one. We spend a lot of money in postage, you guys. That's where all of your funds, when you guys donate, goes right back into FSC and into the cards and into the things that we make and buy and show you guys. So that's what we do. Any other questions? Somebody asked a question and I missed it. Let me just go back and look real quick. Thank you, T, for helping. You're so awesome. So I stored my markers sideways, which I realize now that's probably not a good idea because these guys have started to leak a little. So I'm going to keep them in this cup. Which I think those are my Zig markers I did store sideways. My Copic markers are sideways. Those have leaked. So I store them laying down like this. But those Mermaid markers I'm going to move in a I'm going to leave them in that container so that we don't have any more leaking lids. Yeah, so I think for this now, you can go back in and make this as detailed as you want. So if I really wanted to get into this, I could take a much thicker brush. Let's do this one. Let's move this out of the way. And I don't want to keep you guys on here too late. I know you guys have things to do, probably dinner to make, probably cake to have. If I was at Tracy's house, I'd be like, it's time for birthday cake. Where's my little bucket of water? I was just telling my mom today, Tracy, when I come visit your family, how I say to your mom and dad, hi, Mom, hi, Dad, and how wonderful your family is and so gracious and generous when we come to visit and how sweet they are to Leah. And yes. So I'm just taking, kind of going around my outline here. Dampening that with a big old brush. And I really want a light blue here. This is turquoise. And I'm going to scribble that on my mat here because I don't want to go direct to paper. I don't want it completely saturating. Oh, gotta be careful. Touch the colors of the flower. And now I got some green I pulled out by accident, so I do gotta be careful with that. Probably should go in with a more detailed brush, but again, I'm being lazy Nancy here. Whoever gets this is going to be like, why is my sky green? And last time I showed if you wanted to make a cloudy scene, you just go in with your paper towel. After you've moistened that and put your blue down, you take a paper towel and you lift it back up, and it gives you a very natural looking cloudy scene. Now on this side I don't have as much color saturation. See? So you can go in and you can do the outline, and then all I have to do is just add my sentiment, and I have a very easy slimline watercolored card base. So the stamp I'm using, I will link for you guys. It's, where did it go? Colorado Craft Company. I do have an affiliate link for them. It is called Big and Bold Hummingbird Hibiscus. Oh, it's a hibiscus. Oops. Hibiscus Hummingbird. Hibiscus Hummingbird. Let me link that for you guys. And I used Wow embossing powder. That's in my shop. I used a big jar of it, which is always fun. There we go. Oh, T, you are on top of it. Woo! Okay, guys. Any questions while I clean up my desk? Yeah, Jody, I just ordered some tonic. I think it was tonic. I ordered some more of the, I think it was these. Nouveau ones. I think, because I only have one of these. So I ordered some more of these. And I ordered some more of the, I really like these color sparks because of how dark they are. So I ordered some of these. These come in sets of 3. And you can play with them on stencils. You can play with, they're just a lot of fun on their own. That's a whole video for another day, which I've done. T just did a video not too long ago. So we definitely played with them. Yeah. Thank you, T. Yeah, if you start on my Amazon shop, no matter what you buy, whether it's in my Amazon shop or not, I'll get credit. If you start on any of my affiliate links, I'll get credit. So I do appreciate that, you guys. That's what makes the FSC so cool is you guys contribute. It's your group. It's your team. And then we buy stuff and we share the ideas with you. We tell you if it works, if it doesn't work. We do prizes. We do a lot of fun things. You just click the link, Debbie. That's all you got to do. Yep. Yeah, it's really not a lot, you guys. I'm not making millions of dollars and definitely not paying my mortgage off of it. Between all of the things, if you think about all of my affiliate links for all of my design teams, Amazon, YouTube, it's a few $100s a month. And I do put it right back into crafting, craft supplies, like I said, postage, Zoom. It goes right back into you guys. It's not a ton. Now, I know some people have a lot more views than me. Some people get a lot higher commission with the design teams they're on. They're making a lot of money. Nancy is not on the higher end of that. That's right. Better than nothing, Jonna. We're not complaining. All right, any other questions, you guys? Yeah, the Cricut set I got. It was $11 and change for the Cricut set. Like $11.99 or something, and free shipping if you have Amazon Prime. Yep. Yes, Jody, the color bursts I've heard are really, really good. I don't have them. It's the same. Ken Oliver does the color bursts, and he did these color sparks with TCW, which is the Crafters Workshop Stencil Company. So I think they're just as good. Yes. Those are the only ones I don't have. I heard that they're very vibrant in colors. Yeah, I figured there wasn't much of a difference, T. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know that. All right, any other questions, guys? Thanks for hanging out with me. Hope you have a good Saturday night. Tomorrow morning, Leah has ice skating with her newly sharpened, brand new ice skates. So we'll see how she does with those. We got Mom all set up today. So Mom is good to go for a little bit. She's coming along. So that makes me happy. You know, we take it one day at a time. What's kind of like pan pastels? Okay, I'm going to go clean my desk off now, guys, and make these in the cards. Yes, please give a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you haven't, and consider joining our Facebook group. It is called Foiling Snobs Club. You don't have to do any foiling. We're not snobs. We have a lot of fun. We help each other out. We'd love for you to join us. So it's Foiling Snobs Club on Facebook. Make sure you answer all of the questions. If you do not answer all of the questions, it will not let you in. You'll get rejected. Okay, I don't see any questions. Yes, Debadoo, we miss you. Happy birthday, Tracy. Have a good night. Bye, guys. Bye, Jim. Thanks, T. Bye, Melissa. Bye, Pam. Bye, all.